Happy day, oh happy day, we finally get to see the preview slash teaser trailer for Tekken 8. And if you haven't seen it quite yet, go ahead and click down in the description to find the full video. Otherwise, watching it in slow motion, I definitely noticed some interesting things. A couple of things first. This is in-game footage, but this is more like the single player of the game, so very similar to what we saw in T7 with Akuma versus Heihachi, Heihachi versus Kazuya. And not only can we have differences between beta and live, but single player to multiplayer might not translate as well. Now with that being said, let's jump into it. The first thing shown off is the new weather system. If you go ahead and read the US blog that's also linked in the description, Harada talks about how the tornadoes and waves are completely dynamic, although I feel it should be noted that this will probably be exclusive to single player content only. We then get to look at Jin and Kazuya's new costumes, which look similar but have a different print pattern on them. Actually zooming into the pants allows us to see this fine detail, where the clothing no longer only looks metallic, but you can see almost a threading pattern to it, making it look like actual cloth. Also talked about in the blog, we see the water droplet effect on Kazuya's skin. Zooming into Kazuya's face, we see the fine detail of the water droplet effect. Although watching on a repeat for a few frames, we do see that it has a clear pattern, and of course is not physically based. This problem is especially evident when you look at Kazuya's traps, where the water droplets defy gravity and go to the left rather than down. But this effect looks incredible on his shoulders, where not only do the drops seem to conform to the actual curvature, but there's also this very subtle ricochet effect where the drops are landing. The next notable is a very detailed slow motion effect. While this level of detail is probably exclusive to only single player, it still might rear its head in multiplayer. When Jin and Kazuya clash, we get this really cool explosion effect. And watching the after effects in slow motion, not only do we see the shockwave affect the camera by moving it, but it actually puts raindrops onto the lens. And finally, our first in-game footage, quote unquote, where we get to see the new block sparks, a newly very pronounced dust effect. We get to see Kazuya 443, which seems to have possibly a different property on block. Although more interesting, you can see Jin actually flinch to the incoming attack before blocking it. Is this a sign of things to come? Jin tries to get in with an LRK, but in another beautiful slow-mo, gets stuffed by Kazuya up forward 3. Now I can't quite tell if this now causes a hard roll state, or if this is some sort of out-of-bounds feature. I say that because Kazuya follows up with a running slash kick, and looking at the recovery of the attack is not +9, but is closer to +0. Jin strikes back with a 2-1-4 that appears to have massive pushback on block. Also in the background, we can see better detail on the dynamic ship. At first I thought this clip was evidence of a sort of V-shift mechanic similar to SF5, but watching it in slow-mo, we see that Kazuya clearly backdashes. Although more impressively, we see the hook go in between Kazuya's arms. Is this possibly a sign of better hitbox detection? After causing the whiff, we see Kazuya use down forward 3-2-1, although the string is not NC in T7. And I think the muscle pump animation is just a stylistic choice and not indicative of a new mechanic either. When Jin gets knocked down, we see both damage to the ground as well as a water splash effect at the same time. We get to see more of the water impact effect as the characters move through 3D space. Kazuya lands a counter hit down forward 2 into perfect electric combo, using a back 4 spin option to confirm tail spin is back. Kazuya finishes the combo with a newly reanimated Hell Sweep, and while it looks good, it's strange that Kazuya spins twice before doing the one finisher. We also get a closer look at the detailed cloth pattern. Similarly, we pass through Kazuya's legs to see exactly how detailed it is, where we see a clear distinction between the patch, the cloth, and the wetness of the material. This is a cool little detail. Jin is presumably in rage here. His electric no longer is a hook attack, but it's more like a classical Mishima-style God Fist. Also noticing that the hit spark has a black tinge to it, similar to the Devil Jin feather that we see later in the video. It's possible that Jin has the Omen stance from Tekken Tag 2, which presumably can be accessed while in rage. Jin then finishes with a Devil-style 4-4-2, but rather than simply punching through the opponent, if you watch in slow motion, you can see that he physically carries the opponent with him, and then passes through them. While still branded with the devil marking, Jin grabs a falling Devil Jin feather and then breaks it in his hand, possibly signifying that he now has full control over the Devil Jin. To further drive this point home, we see the title card, which is not just chains breaking, but watching in slow motion, you can see the double helix pattern of DNA, of course signifying both a metaphorical as well as literal separation from Devil Jin and the Devil Jin. On a slightly separate note, hopefully we get more information at either TGS or Rev Major this weekend.